morning. All right, we're streaming this to two different platforms. And so we are going to cross our fingers that everything works. And I'm going to, so if you're here, as you get here, just say hi in the chat. Tell me your name and where you're coming from. We will officially get started with the presentation at the top of the hour. And so I'll give people about a minute and a half to kind of get logged in here. So how to attract, we're going to be talking today about how to attract clients you actually want to work with. Story you're telling, attracting the right people. So the only way to do this is to hit live, and some of the platforms will be live right now, and the other ones I have to do one extra step. So if you hear me typing and talking, that's why. It's because I'm getting that other platform up. So perfect. All right, we're getting the first couple people in already. And this other platform's going live now too. It says it's starting. All right. Awesome. Looks like all of the platforms are now up and running. So like I said, we're going to get started right at the top of the hour. So if you're joining us before the top of the hour, just come in and say hi, introduce yourself and where you're coming from. Today, we're going to be talking about how to attract clients that you actually want to work with. So I've been getting this question a lot lately where people either don't have enough clients at all, or you're getting clients that you don't want to work with, people who aren't paying. So this is really going to be a conversation for people at every level of business, right? And so, because if you're either at the beginning stages of your business and you don't have enough clients, or you're at a more advanced stage of business and you may notice that you're attracting people that either aren't paying or they're not good to work with, they're leaving bad reviews. It seems like no matter what you do, you can't make them happy, stuff like that. So it looks like we are right at the top of the hour now. Looks like we're getting a couple people. So welcome. It's good to see you all. I'm going to push one more button here just to make sure that this is showing up where I want it to. Perfect. Okay, it looks like we're good to go. All right, so we are going to get started. I'm going to start over. As always, we always cut that first couple minutes out just so that we can get a nice clean recording. So I'm going to start from scratch. Good morning. This is Chris Guyman, the Time Freedom Lawyer, and today we are going to talk about how to attract clients you actually want to work with. So if you are starting out in business, you are probably wondering how to get enough clients. And even if you've been doing this for a long time, you may be wondering, why am I attracting the people that seem to not want to pay, or they're tough to work with, or they're leaving me bad reviews? Like, it seems like no matter what you do, you can't make them happy, right? So this is a two-part thing. One is attracting enough of the clients that you want to work with, and the other side is attracting the people you want to work with. And so no matter where you are in business, whether you're just starting out or you're advanced and experienced in your practice, we'll have some stuff to talk to you about today. So as you're joining us, this is live. So I've got multiple places up where I'm looking at the comments. You are welcome to ask questions, comment, thoughts, if you have opinions to share as well. Just whatever we can do to make sure that you're getting the most out of this. So as you join, please say hi in the chat. Tell me your name, tell me where you're coming from. It's always great to engage with people here. So, all right, so let's talk about this a little bit. What does it actually take to attract the clients that you want to work with? I had a mentor, and early on in my career, well before I could have or should have afforded this, I joined a mastermind for $30,000. And it was a cool thing where I invested in myself and learned a lot about investing in myself. That's a story for another day. But I paid all this money to join this mastermind, and then we had an in-person event in California. So we're there and we're learning from this guy. And he had paid $50,000 to do a 3-day event. And that's when I learned that it's crazy how much people can spend on different services and whatnot, right? But he paid 50 grand for this event because Russell Brunson was hosting it. He's the creator of ClickFunnels, for those who don't know who he is. And he was everybody in that room was very successful. Most people were making 5 to 10 million a year. Some were even making up over that. I believe Alex Hormozy was actually one of the attendees at that event. So we had a lot of big hitters. And my coach, he was the poorest person in the room. He had only, at 25 years old, made about $1.5 million the year previous. So he was, like I said, poorest person in the room. And kind of funny, the money scales that we're talking about there, right? But he's like, okay, I want to learn the secrets of the super rich. So Russell Brunson, he's super rich. The people in this room are super rich. Everybody's making tons of money. They must know something that I don't know, right? And I'm guessing if you're here, you've probably thought the same thing. If the super rich, they're doing it unethically, or they know something that I don't know. There's something going on that is the reason that they're making more money than you are, right? So he's like, I want to learn what this is. So he goes to this 3-day event to learn. In that 3-day event, they covered 3 things. And if anybody knows what those 3 things are, I'd love for you to comment them and see if you know. So before I move on, I'm going to give people like 10 seconds to comment in the chat what they think the 3 things that he covered, the 3 secrets that the super rich know that no one else does. Okay. And even if you're watching this as a replay, please comment in the chat. Please engage. You get more out of things if you're engaging and actually using the material than if you're just listening to it. So I'd love for you to comment even after the fact. We will have a bonus for people who comment. So if you comment anytime during this video, you will get a bonus here at the end. So, okay. So what are the 3 things? What are the 3 secrets that the super rich know that no one else does? The first day, the entire day, they answered one question: who is your ideal client? The second day, they answered one question: what is the problem that your ideal client has? And the third day, they again answered just one question: where is your ideal client? And how do you package your services to deliver that to them? So who's your ideal client? What problem do they have? Then how can you package your services to deliver it to them? That was it. So anybody who knows Russell Brunson knows that he has written some books. This one book right here, .com Secrets. You can get this on Amazon for like $10. If not on Amazon, he sells it like for free, free plus shipping for $10, right? So you can get this book for $10. In that book, he teaches those 3 secrets. So my coach was, needless to say, a little ticked off, right? He had just spent $50,000 to learn the exact same thing that he had paid $10 to get. But he'd also spent 3 days doing it. So he's like, you know what? I learned what I was supposed to learn. Like, I'm going to at least try and apply what I've learned to make sure that it's working. And, you know, I might as well get my money's worth, see if it works, right? And so he's like, I'll try it. While he was at this event, he had created a mastermind. He's like, I'm gonna launch this mastermind, do what they said. So he did a big 2-day event where he launched it, taught us a bunch of things. At the end of the second day, he invited people to be a part of his elite mastermind. And in that weekend of the 2-day event, plus he did Thursday and Friday, and then he did sales Saturday and Sunday. He made $220,000 in a weekend. He's like, oh, shoot. I mean, by far, that was his best weekend ever at the point in his career. It's like, oh, this works. And he's like, why? Right? Why is the same information that you can get in a $10 book? Why did it work so much better? And he realized at that point that the super rich, they don't know more than we know. They're just willing to dive in deeper than we normally would, right? When's the last time that you spent an entire day asking yourself the question, who's my ideal client? I know I haven't, right? And that's what it was, right? So I want to talk about that a little bit because it was reassuring to me. And hi, Melissa and Alina. Thanks for commenting in the chat. Good to see you both. It was reassuring to me to know that the super rich don't know more than I do. They were just willing to dive in deeper than I was. But that's the answer, right? These 3 questions: who's your ideal client? What problem do they have? And how do they solve it? That is what's standing between you and your financial goals. If you can answer those questions better than anybody else, you will have more money than you know what to do with. At least I've found that to be true in my life. So how do you do that though, right? I mean, I could end this video right now and you now know the secrets, the 3 things you need to figure out, but does that really help you, right? Because you could have got that in the $10 book. Let's dive into that a little bit, right? What does it mean to actually understand, to be clear on your ideal client? Who is your ideal client? So if you're here, I want you to try to put into words who your ideal client is. And you can say it out loud, you can put it in the chat, but I really want you to think for a little bit, who is my ideal client? And what does it mean to be an ideal client, right? This was a question that I had to answer for myself because I love working with students. So I do a bunch of free stuff up at the local campus. I love teaching law students and helping them. I've done multiple free coaching sessions for people's negotiation teams, helping them compete, right? I love working with students. But you'll notice that I don't sell anything to students. Why do you think that is? Why are students not my ideal client? Again, answer it if you know. The reason is students don't have a lot of money, right? So an ideal client is someone who can and will pay for your services, right? The foundation of any business is cash flow. Now, the purpose of a business may be different, but the foundation has got to be cash flow. And so your ideal client has to be someone who's going to be able to pay. So that may rub you wrong a little bit, right? Maybe you're like, hey, I really like working with students, or I really like working with the underserved population. Great. How are you going to do that? The answer is you got to have cash flow, right? No matter what it is, you got to do it. So for example, in my law firm, my favorite people to work with are victims of domestic violence. We are a family law firm. I have a very soft spot in my heart for victims of domestic violence. And I want to make sure that they are served and taken care of no matter what. They often don't have money, right? So again, the foundation of my law firm is not victims of domestic violence. But the purpose of my law firm is to help families. It's to help victims of domestic violence overcome the struggles that they're going through. So how do those 2 things line up? Truth is, I was on the board of the local abuse shelter for over 10 years. I do a free clinic there. At first it was every week. Now it's every other week for a longer period of time. Batched that a little bit to be a little bit more efficient, right? I do a lot to serve them. We donate significant amounts of money to them every single year. We offer discounts here at the law firm to help them out when we can. And we do service, a lot of our clients are victims of domestic violence. But to ensure that we have the cash flow that we need, we service a lot of different people. But the cash flow is what gives me the tools and the ability to help them. So when you're thinking of your ideal client, you need to think of who can you build this business on? Who has the cash flow? Who can pay for the services so that you can make money to use for whatever your purpose is? And your purpose may be helping victims of domestic violence. It may be helping the underserved population who are being deported right now. It may be a lot of things. And you can do that a whole lot better with cash flow, right? I can guarantee that the local abuse shelter is grateful every single time I give them a check, right? No matter what, right? So that's the idea. Who's your ideal client? Who is the person you can build your company on? So there's a lot of different ways to do this. And we've got a lot of stuff in our coaching program on how to dive in and really understand your ideal client. But to big picture, look at it today. What I like to do is I'm not great at like coming up with fake people, right? The whole reasonable person thing in law school, that just didn't click with me because no one's reasonable. So it didn't really mean anything. So I mean, I learned it and I tried, but it just never really clicked for me. Maybe it does for you, and great. If you can come up with like fake people that you can relate to, that's awesome. Some people, like they go through the same like character creation guides that you would do to create a character in a story. And that works for them. It didn't work for me. So if that works for you, try that. If it doesn't work for you, if you're like me, then the best thing that I can say is to just think back on your past clients and think, who did I enjoy working with? So I was very fortunate. My first two coaching clients, one was a male, one was a female. One had an established business and one was just starting out. They were both very different spectrums of the industry, right? And so when I first started coaching, I literally took a picture of my first two coaching clients, Spencer and Sierra, and put them up on my wall. And I did a little summary of who they were and why I enjoyed working with them. And every piece of content that I produced, I wrote it to one or the other. Like I literally was like, okay, what would Spencer want? And I would write it. What would Sierra want? And I would write it. That's what worked for me. And so if you're not super creative, that's what I'd say. Start there. Think through who is someone you enjoyed working with. Now, I want you to do the flip side too. I'm a big believer in looking at things from multiple angles. And so after you have identified who you enjoy working with, I want you to spend a little bit of time thinking about who you don't enjoy working with. Who's that client that you just didn't enjoy and why? What was it about them that just didn't work with your system? And to be clear, I'm not saying that this person's a bad person. They just didn't work for you, right? One of my worst employees ever is my really good friend's best employee ever. So is she a bad person? No, right? Did she fit my system? No, right? I'm a very hands-off person. I teach people what to do and then I let them govern themselves. That's why I make a good coach, is because I'm not the one who's going to micromanage things. I have great stories. I have great tools. I can inspire people to act, but I'm not a micromanager. I'm not someone who follows through. She needed someone to tell her exactly what to do. And my buddy, that's what he does. He has very detailed systems. He walks people through how to do things, and it just worked. And so him and her together, power team. Me and her together, dumpster fire. It's not because she was a bad person. It's because her style didn't work with my style. And your clients are probably the same way. I'm a believer that most people are good. Are there bad people out there in this world? Yes, of course there are. But I believe personally that most people are good. They just may not be the right fit for you. So spend a little bit of time thinking about that. Who do you enjoy working with? Who do you not enjoy working with? And why? Truly dive into this. I would devote at least 30 to 60 minutes on your calendar to think through these questions. And I would not do anything else. I would not send another marketing email. I would not go to another networking event. I would not do any of that until you're super clear on this. Because if you're not, you're going to attract the wrong people. It's really easy to use any of the sales and marketing gimmicks that you learn online to attract clients. So especially if you're working with people that you don't enjoy working with, this is often why. You don't know, you're not clear who you like to work with. Russell Brunson tells a story about this where he was helping people effectively get rich quick. I hate to say it that way, but that's what his marketing was talking about. And he woke up one day and he hated his job. He wanted to burn it all down. And he realized at that point that he was doing everything he could to just attract paying customers and not necessarily attract the paying customers he wanted to. So he did this exact same exercise where he spent quite a bit of time thinking through his ideal client, and he wrote these people up. He actually scrolled through Google and found pictures of the people that he thought looked like his ideal client. So a couple of years later, he's telling this story and he says, I wanted to describe my ideal client to you. And he reads the ideal client that he had written down. He says, I wrote this, and I think before he told like the whole story of how he came up with it, he's like, I wrote this about one of you here, and I want you to raise your hand if you think it's you who I'm talking about. And then he reads the person and says, who do you think it is? And like almost the entire audience raises their hand. And it was really cool for him to see how, by being clear on who his ideal client was, that he did in fact attract the people that he wanted to work with. And we find the same thing true here. Like we very rarely have people who don't pay or leave bad reviews or those types of things. And when we do, it's because we deviated from the system. We actually got a 2-star review this last week. And it was somebody, he needed like this short little thing and it didn't fit into our systems. And I was like, well, okay, we'll do it this way instead. Like kind of made something up for him on the spot because I wanted to take care of him. And I knew at my core, I shouldn't have done that, but I did anyways. And sure enough, we actually reached an agreement. It was a mediation, and we did reach an agreement. And then he talked to his friends after and decided it wasn't good and bailed out of it and hired attorneys and they duked it out. And he turned around and left me a 2-star review saying that I told too many stories and gave his wife a higher number for alimony than he thought she deserved. Funny enough, the court actually, I think, is ruling higher than that, but we'll see. So just get clear on that first, okay? Once you're clear on who your ideal client is, then we need to spend some time thinking about what problems do they have. I'm a big believer that we don't create things and then try to sell it to people. We identify what problems people already have, and then we solve those problems. And then the marketing and advertising isn't convincing people to buy stuff. It's just helping your ideal clients know that you solve the problem that they have, right? Because if someone's walking around with a problem, right? Like if you see somebody and they've got, a sword sticking out of their arm or something, right? You would feel it's your moral obligation to go over there and pull that out, assuming it's not going to cause them to bleed out or something. I don't know anatomy. I'm not a doctor, right? But if you see someone in pain, it's your moral obligation, if you can solve that for them, to solve it for them, right? And that's what I want you to feel like when it comes to your law firm, is I want you to know that what you do for people matters. And it matters because they're currently in pain and you can solve that pain. And the cost to solve the pain is less than the pain is costing them. If you can answer that question truthfully, it's so easy to get clients, right? And so it's easy in practice areas like immigration and criminal law and family law, right? Someone's getting divorced and I am stopping that for them. I don't sell divorce. I just stop the pain of divorce, right? Other industries, though, I want you to think about this for a while. Like, what if you're in intellectual property or businesses or estate planning, right? These people aren't in pain yet, but they will be. And I want you to just comment here. If you can think like, what are the pain points that your ideal clients are currently facing? Especially if you're in an industry like estate planning, what's the pain point that your client is going to face? Because some of these industries like real estate, business contracts, those types of things, what you're doing is super duper important. Your clients isn't in pain yet, but if you can get ahead of it, they won't be in pain. And what's the value of preventing pain? Or if it does happen, that it ends up being less and you can save them money. Like, I really want you to spend some time thinking about that. For me, I learned and realized that the longer the conflict went in a divorce case, the harder it was for these people to be good co-parents later. And so one of the most important things to me was speeding up the resolution, and trying whenever possible to eliminate the conflict, the fighting, and especially the duration of the fighting. With that in mind, once I realized how important this was for co-parents, I was able to create a system that helped people get divorced in a matter of weeks instead of months. And because it was so much less time, I was actually able to charge less. You would think that by doing it more quickly, I should charge more. But in fact, I've even been able to charge less and save my clients some money, knowing full well that my ideal clients, these people that I like to work with, are limited on their funds, right? But by knowing these clients and knowing their pain points, I was able to create this system that effectively sells itself. The hardest thing it's been for me is just helping people know that it is an option. Because once it's an option and they know that, they almost always purchase it. And I want you to be able to do the same thing for you. And I want to hear what that is. If you have an idea of what the pain points are for your clients, don't be shy. Put it in the comments, okay? I'm going to refresh this just to make sure I'm getting those most up-to-date comments here, because I want to see what it is that you guys are writing. So do this now, right? I can just keep talking if you want me to, but if I just keep talking at you and you don't take any action, it's not going to get any results. So don't be afraid to post here. What are those things that your clients are going through? What's at least one thing that your clients are going through that you can solve for them? And then the last thing is going to be, how do you package your services to deliver the solution to their problem in the most efficient and cost-effective method possible? This is what gets me super excited in the legal industry, because for so long we have billed by the hour. And because we as an industry have billed by the hour, we are incredibly inefficient. It is crazy how many attorneys I know that when they need to draft a document, they open up a blank Word document and start typing. They type their name and the header, and they spend 15 minutes getting the whole thing formatted. And then they start writing the document from there. And I asked somebody one time, I was like, why are you doing that? Like he was using WordPerfect, red flag number one, right? And he's like, well, we bill by the hour. He's like, if I use a template, then I spend time to then make less money. He's like, so I'm not doing that. He's like, so I've got this little thing over here, which shows me the cases and stuff. And I use this to type. He's like, but I type the whole thing. I want to get paid. I was like, oh my goodness. Like his clients are paying extra just because he's stubborn. He stuffs every envelope himself because he can charge for it, right? So he literally hits print, walks over to the printer, waits for the printer to print, and then gets that, puts it in the envelope, and writes out the person's address on it, writes out his return address, manually puts the stamp on himself. He does it all himself, and then he bills for it. Imagine how much more productive he could be if he had an assistant do that, right? Little simple things, right? And that's what gets me so excited about the legal industry. You don't have to be the most efficient person. All you have to do here to get a leg up is be a little efficient, and then charge for the value you're providing. This is not a lesson on whether you should bill hourly or flat fees, but I do want you to start considering what are things worth to your clients. For example, what we ended up doing here, and Greg, I am totally teasing you for WordPerfect and anybody who uses WordPerfect. I loved WordPerfect when I was in elementary school, but there is a new program that is better in every way now. But to all my WordPerfect users, I still love you. It's just silly. It's just a good signal to me that you're not moving forward with the times. So I will tease you, but I will still help you. Okay. Now I lost my train of thought. Okay. With my own practice. So I did some research and I learned just from my own cases and seeing attorneys' fees in other cases that what was normally happening in a divorce case is someone would hire an attorney. They would do their petition. The other person would do their answer and counter petition. You go back and forth on that initial paperwork. The case would finally start. We would both do financial declarations, go back and forth on that stuff. And then we would schedule mediation. We'd go to mediation. We'd settle. About 98% of my cases were following a very similar pattern. Sometimes it'd be temporary orders or a protective order or something, but they would almost always include those three steps. They may include others, but 98% of cases would follow that pattern. And the average cost for that was about $9,800. And the more I've studied this, and the cool thing about being a coach is I get to see what other people charge now. That's only been reaffirmed. Some firms are actually even as high as $12,000 for that exact same process. So we charge a flat fee for the petition, the initial disclosures, and the mediation. Just those services. It's a limited scope representation, and it's $6,500. So we charge about 2/3 the cost of what the average attorney in the area charges. But we then use as many systems and teams and stuff as we can to be as efficient as possible. When you call our office, it's just like calling a doctor's office. Like, you're not going to get the doctor. You're not going to get the attorney. You're going to talk to the team. The team gets the answers. They relay the messages. They're significantly better at watching the portal than an attorney ever is going to be. The attorneys are in court. We're doing mediation. We're drafting documents. We're getting results for our clients, right? And our team does the communication. Our team stuffs the envelopes. We have systems in place where we actually, like when the case starts, we say, hey, these are the 3 steps. We're in step 1. Right now we're working on this. When we're done with this, it'll be that. And then we just preempt their questions as much as possible. We tell people, and because we're preempting their questions, we don't get a lot of questions because the number one question you're going to get is what's happening in my case. So we try to preempt that as often as possible. We spend a lot of time creating systems and building our team up to handle these issues. Because of that, the attorneys in my firm make about 50% more per hour than the average attorney in the area. So we charge 1/3 less, and my team makes more just by being a little efficient. And I promise you, we are not that efficient. Like, if you compared my law firm to like other businesses in areas outside of the law, we are hardly efficient. But compared to other attorneys in town, we are hyper efficient. We are way better at responding to emails and getting information to people. We get to mediation in usually about 3 to 4 months. The average time is 9 months. So we're getting people done in a third the amount of time for 2/3 the cost, and my team's making more just by being a little efficient. And it all comes back to, how do I package my services in such a way to ensure that my clients are getting the best possible result, right? Nowhere have I been speaking for the last 10 minutes have I talked about just getting the most money possible. In fact, almost every single time in the legal industry, we end up charging less for our services than other people. And my team makes more, and the client gets a better result, right? If a client calls a law firm right now, on average, it takes about 3 to 4 days to get an answer. At our office, it's usually about 2 hours. Now, do they talk to the attorney? No. Do they get their question answered? Yes, right? We've got to stop linking and saying like, okay, I'm the only person who can do this. Because your team can do it, and often they can do it better. And by providing that better quality of service, we can also become significantly more efficient. So we've got a question here from Greg. He says, when you do the flat fee of $6,500, what happens when the other side serves written discovery and now you have to do that as well? It's a really good question, right? And that's why I pointed out this fee is a limited scope representation. The only thing that's included in this fee is the petition, the initial discovery, and there's like actual initial discoveries here in Utah. Like there's a set box of what's included in that, and then the mediation, right? And every time you do a flat fee, this is not a lesson on flat fees. We can do another lesson on flat fees for those who are interested. But every time you do it, you need to be very specific. What is included? What is not included? And always, always, always have a time limit on when that will last. So for all of our flat fees, our initial flat fees, we always do a 6 month time limit. So no matter what, after 6 months, we're getting paid additional money. In addition to those three things, you should also include how much people are going to pay and what are the payment terms. When are they going to pay, interest, whatever, if there's late fees, whatever. So what's included, what's not included, time limit, pay, like how much they are going to pay for that. I want there to be a value conversation there. What are they getting versus what are they paying for? And the bigger the gap there, the more likely they are to pay for it. And then the fifth thing is the payment terms. So great question, Greg. If someone were to do that, like temporary orders, that's the thing that is the most likely thing to happen in up and above what I just explained here in Utah. If that's the case, there's an additional fee for it. We have two different billing models. We have one fee that starts at $12,000 and goes up. And so a lot of times if there's extra things, that includes all of the motion work and everything for the first 6 months of the case, pre-litigation. And so we often will just convert people to that. If there's only going to be like one thing, sometimes there's like one hearing or something, then we do have some a la carte pricing that we can bill people. So whatever we feel like is most fair to them and us is what we'll quote. But there will be an additional fee, always. Like, do not do work for free, right? I will talk people out of doing extra work. If I don't think the value's there, then I will try and convince them not to do it. But I tell everybody, if we do the work, we have to get paid for it. So we either don't do the work and don't get paid, or we do the work and we do get paid. But we will not do the work and not get paid. So the only question there is it worth it, right? So I had a case where the client's ex, like she literally showed up to pick her kid up on Friday and the house was empty. So she calls DC Fest, she's doing all this stuff. And sure enough, he moved to Kentucky or Kansas or something. It was one of the K states. I don't remember which one. So obviously not okay, right? He took the kid and ran across the country. Either of the K states are very far away from Utah, right? So we did a motion for a temporary restraining order, an emergency injunction to get the kid back. Obviously there was a fee for that, right? And I had that conversation with her. Look, this sucks. I am so sorry that your ex grabbed your kid and ran away. And in order to fix that, we do this. And the cost of that is this. Is that worth it to you? Obviously, in that case, I think it was like $3,500. She's like, yeah, it is worth $3,500 to get my kid back. The guy was emotionally abusive to this child, not fit to be the primary custodial parent. Obviously, it was worth it. Did it suck? Yes. right? I started that conversation off. This sucks. Anytime someone has to hire an attorney, that sucks. Let's just get that out of the way, right? Even if it's an estate plan, it still sucks to pay someone money for this. And it's still worth it, right? When we work out and we lift heavy weights, that also sucks. And eating healthy also sucks. And most of the time, it's worth it. Okay. Not a fitness trainer. I still got weight to lose. So sometimes I lose that battle, right? But at the end of the day, working out, eating healthy, to have a healthy body, it sucks to do the work up front, and the results are worth it. It sucks to pay an attorney, and the results are worth it. Now, not always. Sometimes it's super fun to the stuff that we get to do. Adoptions, right? It still sucks to pay people money, but the joy that you get from having the child in your home is worth it, right? And so that's it, right? That's, if you get nothing else out of this lesson, I want you to realize and agree, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, that the most important thing we're doing is creating incredibly valuable solutions to people's problems, and then making sure that we can charge less than what that's worth. So I'm going to say that again. The number one most important thing that I want you to learn today is to create incredibly valuable solutions to people's problems, and then find a way to charge less than that, what that costs, right? If you are getting sued for $10,000 and I come in and say, hey, look, 100% guarantee, if you hire me, you won't pay that 10 grand. You will pay $0, but you have to pay me 5,000. And if I don't win, I'll pay the 10 myself. So 100% guarantee you don't pay it. Would you do that? Say it in the chat, right? You're being sued for 10, and I can guarantee you won't have to pay that 10, but you have to pay 5. Would you do it? What if I said it was 2? Right? What is the number, right? If you're going to have to pay 10, and I can guarantee you don't have to pay that, but you have to pay me X, what's that dollar number that would make sense for you? This is not a hypothetical question. I want you to answer it. How much would you pay to guarantee you don't have to pay 10? Right? Theoretically, 9, right? 9,950 would still be better than 10. The lower that number gets, the more likely you're going to agree to not pay that. Or the more likely you are to agree to pay the attorney's fees, right? The same thing is going to be true with your clients, right? I use this example all the time because sometimes people will tell me, like, there's no way I could sell a $10,000 service. There's just no way. People can't afford it. Well, I want to tell you that, ask you this right now. I just had an appraisal on my home. So I have a document that says how much my home is worth, and it says my home is worth $700,000, and I have it. It's signed by an appraiser. I can show it to you, right? If I show you that document and say, hey, I will sell you this home with the proof that it's worth $700,000 for $100,000, would you take me up on that right now? We've known each other for 30 minutes, give or take. But would you take it? Proof that it's worth 700. I'm selling it to you for 100. Would you do it? Again, this is a hypothetical. I am not selling my home for that price. I'm guessing your answer is yes, which is super cool, because you have just admitted to yourself and to me that you would now on a live stream to multiple platforms and multiple people, you showed that I was able to sell you a $100,000 service in just a couple minutes, because it's never about the price. It's always about the value, right? Now, I would go broke if I paid $700,000 for a home and sold it to you for 1. So I am not offering that. This is not a contract. I will not agree to sell you that, but I want to prove the point, right? The same thing is true with your services. If you can show how much it's worth and your price is less than that, and the bigger the difference, the more likely people are going to pay. I love this. Like, Amy's like, hey, I'll pay up to $7,000 to ensure I don't have to pay 10. Logically, anything less than 10 makes sense, but the bigger the gap, the more likely people are to pay. And even when they don't have the money, like when I use that $100,000 example, I'm like, okay, what would you do? How would you come up with that? And people are like, man, I'd steal it from my neighbor. I'd do whatever I needed to, because as soon as I get it, I could get the house. I could turn around and sell it for $500,000 in probably 30 days and give my neighbor their money back and some, and they'd be happy, right? Like, it's crazy what some people will say on that. So that's what I want you to take home from this is the bigger the gap between the value that your client receives and the price that you're charging, the more likely they are to buy and the more likely they are to be happy, right? Same thing's true with my house example, right? If I did offer that to you and you bought it for $100,000, would you not be happy, right? I bet you'd go around telling everybody, man, can you believe that Chris sold me his house for $100,000 when it was worth $700,000? Like I cleaned up on this thing, right? You'd be stoked. Your clients end up being the same way. So we have a mediation service here at our law firm that's just $3,000, $1,500 each. They come in, they mediate for a couple hours, and a couple days later, they're divorced. People rave about this. It's crazy how many times they'll be telling their buddies, like, man, like the average cost for a divorce is $9,000 to $10,000. I paid $1,500, and instead of it taking 9 months, it took me 3 days. And they're like, what? No way. Like, how did you get away with that? Right? And they just rave about it. And it almost sells itself at this point, right? Because I've spent so much time asking myself, who's my ideal client? What problem do they have? And how can I solve it faster, better, and cheaper than anyone else? So the question is for you, how do you do this in your practice? Hopefully you take the stuff that we talked about today and you think through it. You block off a little bit of time and you spend 30 to 60 minutes thinking through it. That in and of itself is going to make a big difference. But we also have an offer today where I will help you with that for free. So I have a thing, it's called a law firm audit. Normally I charge $495 for this, where I come in, you answer some questions, I sit down, we go through these things together, and I help you identify, one is, where is your marketing message lacking? Because I truly believe that when we start with this offer and we get super clear on your ideal client, the problem they have and how you solve it, everything else falls into place. It's so much easier to create systems and hire team members and do all those things if we are solving problems for clients. And so I always start there first. So that's the first thing we're going to do in the audit as well. We're going to go through your marketing question. We're going to figure out what's lacking. Then in addition, I'm going to go through your business with you, your structure. I'm actually going to audit your firm and help you identify some of the low-hanging fruit there as well. Because it's just hard. It's hard. You get so much information thrown at you, right? You get this thing today, but I'm sure that you're going to have another video that you watch from somebody else this afternoon, and you got a podcast that you're listening to and from in the car, and you're reading a book, and next thing you know, you're getting all this information. It's like, man, what do I do first? What do I do next? What do I do to ensure that like I'm actually getting results, right? And so that's the whole purpose of this audit, is I'm going to help you kind of weed through all the crap and help you identify the next 2 or 3 things that you should work on to grow. So I'm going to help you with your marketing message, and I'm going to help you identify the next biggest action steps that you can take. Like I said, normally it's $495, and we're going to offer it to the people who attend this Facebook Live for free. So I'm going to give you the link to that, and I'll drop it in the comments here. If you can't find it, then I want you to just send me a direct message, and I'll send you the link. And then there's a coupon code. When you get to the checkout, it's going to show the $495. If you type in live, that's capital L, capital I, capital V, capital E, 495. Live 495, all capitals. It'll waive that fee, and you don't even have to put a credit card in. You can just get it for free, and then it'll send you directly to my calendar link. You can book a time to do that. I'll hop on a call with you. So again, that's live 495, completely free for anybody who comes. Because I don't know, Alina and I, as we were planning for this, man, my eye's like so dry. I keep poking at it. But as we were planning for this call, we were trying to think like, how do we actually help people figure this out? Because I truly believe this is going to make the biggest difference for you. And she was like, well, why don't we just give that $495 audit for free? And I was like, well, because I don't want to work for free. But she's like, no, this makes sense. So I'm like, okay. So I don't believe that coupon code lasts super long. It's only going to last for like the next week or so. I know it has an expiration date on it. I'm not exactly sure. I will guarantee it works through the end of this week, maybe next week. But if you're watching this weeks later, you can try it. It may just not work for you. But at least give it a try. So if you're interested and want some help going through this marketing message, figuring out which of those 3 questions you need to work on the most and you can do in your practice to do the most, happy to help. So I don't see any questions in the chat. Does anybody have anything they want to cover before we end? And it's a little bit delayed, so I'm going to pause here for a second while you're thinking of those questions. And if you have one, happy to answer. And thank you, Jason, for saying it's the most excellent service you have ever used. I appreciate that compliment. I want to just tell one more story about offer creation while you're thinking of questions. So, I already told you, like, the cool thing was, as my coach was going through there, like as he walked us through and explained the thing, like, we were sitting there in this mastermind realizing that we were the ones who paid him the $220,000 for that weekend. Right. And I was like, well, if it worked for him, it's got to work for me. We spent a lot of that weekend working through that stuff. And I took that offer creation and created an offer for my coaching program at that time. And that was my first $40,000 month, which wasn't a ton. Don't get me wrong. It was big numbers nothing compared to what everybody else was doing. I think it was 44 grand was the exact thing. But what was the coolest part about it? It was my second $100,000 month ever in total services sold. But the thing that was the biggest standing out point for me was that month in which I did all that, I was actually in Mexico at an all-inclusive resort. And what finally clicked for me was that it didn't have to be me selling my time anymore to make the money I wanted to make. So a year prior, I'd had my first $100,000 month, and my wife and I were miserable. In fact, when that month was over, she's like, "This isn't worth it. We got to do something different." And we cut our goal to 50 grand a month. We cut it in half because we're like, we are never doing that again. And so the fact that exactly 12 months later, we had our second $100,000 month. And that time we were at a beach in Mexico. And the reason we were able to do it was because we were solving people's problems. And it was no longer me solving the problem. It was my team solving the problems. And because of that, we could get better results faster and without me doing it. And that's kind of what I want to end here is spend some time on this, not just so you can make money, but so you can create the lifestyle you want to live, whether that's Mexico or Disneyland or just helping more people. Like, you can grow a huge practice if that's what you want to do too. Like, that's what it takes. And Amy asks, how do you speed up court processes? Great question. Generally speaking, it's got to be through negotiation and resolution, and giving people big enough carrots that they want to settle. Obviously, being prompt on your deadlines and responses and moving things forward can help. But there's some things you can't, and some things you can't speed up, right? So and I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to speed up court processes. So anybody who doesn't have to worry about this, you're welcome to leave. Just make sure you come into the comments. In fact, I'm going to drop that link here in the comments right now so that for anybody who wants to leave, they can. Okay, that's posting now. You'll see it in the next 15-30 seconds. So if you want to book that $495 free discovery call, again, the code is live495. I'm not putting that in the comments because I don't want people to know it. You have to watch the video. That's what you get for watching this, right? So for the rest of you who want to talk about how to speed up court processes, obviously one way is to negotiate, right? Settling cases is going to be faster than using the court process. But sometimes you can't do that, right? I've got a coaching client that does immigration, and guess what? They don't really settle those things, right? But one of the things I learned was, and this came from the New York subways. The New York spent a ton of money trying to speed up their subway. And people were always complaining about how long it took for these trains to show up. And they spent tons and tons of money. I don't remember how much it was at the time. But they did it, and they did speed up their trains by like 30%. No one was happy. I'm like, what do you mean? Then they put this little sign up showing where the trains were so you could see how long it was until the train got there. And most of the complaints went away because the perceived time delay was now less. And so if you're in an industry where you can't speed things up, at least you can make it more comfortable for your clients. So mirrors in elevators are the same thing. We like to look at ourselves, and when we're looking at ourselves and making faces and stuff, we don't realize how long it takes to get to the top floor. The same thing's true in your business. So with this immigration attorney, she straight up says like, hey, look, we've done, like, she does all the paperwork and stuff, and then it gets done. She's like, look, this is going to take 12 to 18 months. There's nothing I can do to speed up the federal government. They're going to do what they're going to do. And depending on which president's in house at the time, sometimes it's really fast, sometimes it's not. I don't care what your political side is. That's a true statement. Some presidents care about immigration and getting people through the system faster than others, and some don't want people here. I'm not going to talk about who's who, but we all know what we're talking about, and that's just the truth. That sometimes it's going to be longer than others. And in this case, at the time that she was telling me this, it was about a 12 to 18-month process to get this thing through. I don't do immigration, so I don't even know what service she was talking about. She was asking the same question. So what do I do, right? Like, there's nothing I can do about it. I was like, okay. So we walked him through. Hey, client, this is going to take 12 to 18 months. We check the case every single month just to make sure that nothing bad happens. And if something does happen, that we can move quickly, right? She's like, and I'll let you know. And then she pre-schedules emails every single month. They just go out. And it says, hey, just wanted you to know, we're thinking about you. Nothing's happened in your case yet. Just wanted you to know, we've checked in, we looked at it. And it's been 1 month, so probably at another 11 plus months. Earliest, realistically, is 12 months. So you're looking at least another 11 months. But we'll let you know. And she sends that email every single month. It's automated. She doesn't actually have to push a single button. And at first, she was like, "Can I do that?" I'm like, "Of course you can, right?" So once a month, she has someone on her team check every single case, and they flag any cases that need attention. And so I was like, look, if you're doing that already, like, who cares if the email goes out 2 weeks after they checked? Like, as long as you're checking every single month and you know nothing's going on, just let those emails roll. And she gets so many compliments about how good her communication is. And she literally talks to people once a month. But because she understood her ideal client and the problem that they had, which was stress at how long this was taking, she was able to solve it. She was able to solve it with a simple system where someone on her team once a month checks all the cases and an email automatically sends out. It maybe takes her 4 hours a week of a team member to do this. Her clients are happy. So you either speed things up, or if you can't, you still solve the problem that they have. Either way, your client wins. And again, that's my biggest thing here, is I want your client winning. I do not believe, and I am not okay with, convincing or tricking people to buy things. I am 100% about knowing they have a problem, solving that problem, and ensuring what they receive is worth a heck of a lot more than what you charge. Because I can't sleep at night knowing that. And the truth is, I had a client reach out to me for coaching services last week. And we got on the call. She's one of my favorite people. She was so fun to talk to. We got to the end of the call, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not 100% sure I can help. I was like, I can't sell someone something I'm not 100% sure on. And so I told her that. I was like, hey, look, I don't know if I can help you yet. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go talk to some people. I'm going to see if I can help you. If I can, and I'm 100% certain I can, then you can join the program. If not, then let's at least have one more call. I'm going to give you some information and resources to help you help yourself. But I refuse to accept a client that I'm not 100% sure I can help. And I do the same thing in my law services all the time, right? People will say, like, my ex was 15 minutes late. Like, I want to file a motion to enforce. I'm like, sweet, that's $3,500. They're like, what? $3,500? He was 15 minutes late. I'm like, yeah, no. Doesn't change the fact that I have to do $3,500 worth of work. I don't think you should do it. I'll be like, what? Like, you don't want to make more money? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't think that you're going to get the results out of this that you want. It doesn't change the fact that I have to do $3,500 worth of work. If I do the work, I'm getting paid. But so I don't think you should do it. And they're like, okay, I don't want to do it. Sweet. Right? but I can't sleep at night knowing that they don't. But the flip side is also true. When someone sits down with me and we go through the things and they say, hey, you got to do $6,500. I am so certain that that is the best possible deal they're ever going to get. And they feel that. And my closing rates are so high because they feel that. And the same thing is going to be true for you. This is more than just a marketing and advertising conversation. When you do this, your marketing's better, your advertising's better, your networking events are better, your sales are easier, your client satisfaction's higher. Everything just gets better when you know who your ideal client is, what problem they have, and how you can solve it. So thanks for coming today. This was super awesome. Thanks for the questions and the engagement and the chat. This makes it so much more fun than me just talking to myself. So I really appreciate the engagement there. And like I said before, I dropped the link in the comments. And so if you jump on that link, you can, if you use the code LIVE495, all capital letters, it is case sensitive. So you need to do LIVE495. I'll give you that audit for free, where we'll go through your marketing message and we will go through your law firm as a whole to decide what to work on next. So thank you guys. We'll see you next time. If you're still here, I have to let it run a little bit longer so that I ensure all of the platforms get it. So if you see this message, say hi. Tell me you saw it. It will be trimmed. So only the people live are going to get to see this. I'm going to give it like another 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thanks, guys.